The time is 5 o'clock. Good evening. Here is the world news at 5. First, the top stories. Ogun Assembly seeks compensation for structures demolished for road project. Police IG orders dismantling of all tax revenue roadblock from federal roads. Presidency says looted fund now being hidden in graveyard and thick forest. The Sultan says Nigerians are hungry because they are lazy. On the foreign scene, protest in Turkey as major opposition reject result of referendum. Hundreds of Palestinians in Israeli prison embark on hunger strike. I am Femi Osinuga, bringing you the news in detail shortly. Ogun State House of Assembly has asked the state government to fast-track the payment of compensation to all the owners of structures demolished for the ongoing road expansion project across the state. To create space for the massive road expansion projects, including expressways and flyover bridges, the Amoso administration had pulled down thousands of structures, including residential buildings, shops, offices, and market stalls. Works and Infrastructure Commissioner Olamilekon Adegbite recently put the compensation bill at 8 billion naira, out of which 2 billion naira had been paid. The Assembly Speaker during the House plenary says the timely payment of the compensation will ease the agonies and pains of those displaced by the demolition of the affected structures. On its part, the Speaker assures that the House will ensure the compensation is paid. Also speaking on the issue, the House Works and Infrastructure Committee Chairman Olayiwola Ojodu urged those whose structures are being demolished for the Lafewa Enugada to Adaton Expressway project to remain calm. Ojodu promises to monitor the payment of compensation to the affected owners of affected structures in the axis. Ogun State Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board will begin the screening of all intended pilgrims for the state for this year's holy pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina from Tuesday, April 18 to Thursday, April 20. The board executive secretary, Alhaji Abdulhakeem Tunji Kalejaye, in a statement says the 3-day exercise will give the agency an opportunity to further subject all the 2017 Hajj applicants to religious and immigration screening. The exercise, according to him, will determine their eligibility to perform the 2017 Hajj and ascertain the level of their payment for the exercise. Kalejaye asked the applicants to come along with their original payment receipts and e-passports to the board's headquarters at Block B, New Secretariat Complex, Okemonson, Abeokuta. The applicants are also requested to consult the board's information unit to ascertain the days that they will be attended to, as only 250 intending pilgrims will be screened on each day of the exercise. Inspector General of Police Ibrahim Idris has ordered the arrest of all tax revenue officials operating on federal roads nationwide. Ahead of the takeoff of the directive today, Idris directed police to dismantle all forms of illegal road blockage created by revenue tax collectors, road transport unions, as well as labor union related bodies. First spokesman Jimoh Moshood in a statement says that police special X squad teams have been deployed to begin enforcing the directives as from today. The squad, according to him, has been directed by the Inspector General of Police to arrest, investigate and prosecute any person and groups found committing such illegal acts. The force asked the state and local government internal revenue agencies officials to vacate the highways and roads. Such illegal blockage of roads, according to the force headquarters, are being used by armed robbers and kidnappers to terrorize members of the public. The presidency says it has received intelligence that some of the treasury looters are now burying stolen funds in deep forests, their backyards and graveyards. Information and Culture Minister Alhaji Lahi Muhammad, who made this known in a statement, says the whistleblowing policy is working and has led to the recovery of more looted funds in many currencies. Muhammad assured in the statement signed by his special advisor, Mr. Segun Adeyemi, that all the recovered loot funds were safe and government will give full account to Nigerians. Apart from the monetary reward for any information that leads to recovery of looted funds, the minister says most of the Nigerians who have come forward with useful leads were driven by patriotism rather than reward. According to him, Nigerians eager to rid Nigeria of corruption are daily flooding the offices of the appropriate government agencies with valuable information. The minister, however, notes that more funds were in the possession of looters than were available to government at all levels to meet its obligation, including paying workers' salaries and providing social amenities. Gunmen have adopted a traditional ruler in Ondo State. The traditional ruler Oniyoni of Iyoni, Oba Joel Dawood, in the Akoko North local government area was taken away by gunmen. His whereabouts is not yet known. Spokesman of the State Police Command, Femi Joseph, says the police had moved to ensure the rescue of the monarch from his abductors. The Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Saad Abubakar, says there is food shortage and hunger in Nigeria because people are lazy. The Sultan stated this in Sokoto at the annual Umar Convention following complaints by the chairman of the Shura Committee of the National Islamic Center, Ahmad Bello, that Nigerians are hungry. The Shura Committee chairman says the hunger is so acute that millions of children are now begging for food from households on the streets or eating out of dustbins. But the Sultan says Nigeria is blessed with fertile land which could provide enough food to feed its teeming population. He says this could not be actualized because Nigerians are lazy. A police officer has been killed in the violent protest that rocked Igbara-Odo, Ekiti in Ekiti State, which is now under a dusk till dawn curfew. Mobile and conventional policemen have been deployed to the town to maintain peace and enforce the curfew. Spokesman of the State Police Command, Alberto Adeyemi, says the situation had been normalized in the town, but the monarch has been asked to keep off the palace, which was vandalized during the last Friday's riot. The violent protest was carried out by youths belonging to the Federation of Igbara-Oke Students Union, who attacked the palace of the monarch over the fund released from the 2016 Igbara-Oke Day. You are still listening to the world news on Rock City 101.9 FM. Up next, we'll bring you foreign, business and sport news. Do stay with us. The foreign scene. Turkey's main opposition party says it will challenge the country's referendum results after President Recep Tayyip Erdogan won a vote to expand his powers. The Republican People's Party has questioned the legitimacy of the close result, citing irregularities in the electoral process. The win was met with both celebrations and protests across Turkey. The opposition refuses to accept the yes victory and demand a recount of 60% of the vote, faulting a decision to pass on stamped ballot papers as valid unless proven otherwise. Opposition supporters took to the streets of Istanbul to bang pots and pans, a traditional form of protest, in a series of noisy demonstrations. Also, supporters of President Erdogan celebrated, praising the historic decision that could keep him in office until 2029. With 99.97% of ballots counted, the Yes campaign had won 51.41% of the votes, while No had taken 48.59%. Hundreds of Palestinians held in Israeli prisons are beginning a mass hunger strike in protest against their conditions. The action, being led by Marwan Barghouti, a Palestinian leader jailed by Israel for life for 5 murders. Barghouti, a key figure in Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas' faction, has been touted as a possible future successor to Mr. Abbas. According to Israel's prison service, 1,187 Palestinians in Israeli prisons are joining the hunger strike, which coincides with the annual Palestinian Prisoners' Day. Palestinians regard the detainees as political prisoners, many of whom have been convicted of attacks against Israel and other offenses. Others are detained under so-called administrative detention, which allows suspects to be held without charge for 6-month intervals. There were about 7,000 Palestinians held in Israeli jails by the end of last year, according to Palestinian prisoners groups. In business, farm produce worth millions of naira were destroyed by a fire outbreak at Dangwaleri village of Berniwa local government area of Jigawa. According to witnesses, the fire occurred on Friday at about 3:30 a.m. and destroyed 10 silos. The ward head in the area, Malam Yahya Muhammad, said the fire destroyed food commodities such as millet and sorghum. Goods worth millions of naira were also destroyed on Friday night when fire gutted a section of the Sokoto Old Market. Dozens of shops containing assorted foodstuff, cooking oil, detergents, and other household items were consumed. Finally, sport news. Nigeria Football Federation (NFF) says the Super Eagles will play an international friendly against Corsica, an island in France, and Burkina Faso as part of the team's build-up for the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against South Africa. The Eagles are scheduled to open camp in France in May for the first leg home encounter of the AFCON qualifier against South Africa in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. Super Eagles coach Gunnar Troll says the list of players for the South Africa match will be released 2 weeks before camp opens in Paris. Super Eagles media officer Toyin Ibitoye says that Raw wants the friendlies to have first-hand assessment of the players that will face South Africa. Rivers United Football Club has secured a 2-0 victory against visiting Rayon Sports of Rwanda in the first leg of the CAF Confederation Cup playoff. The match at the Yakubu Gowon Stadium in Port Harcourt saw the runners-up of MPFL go into the second leg in Rwanda with a 2-goal lead advantage. A goal scored by Emeka Atuloma in the 29th minute of the first half gave Rivers United an early lead. Guy Kierman's strike in the 51st minute of the second half put Rivers United into a comfortable lead. The second leg of the playoff is scheduled for April 22nd in Kigali, Rwanda. That was the world news at 5, and just before we go, the major stories once again. Ogun Assembly sought compensation for structures demolished for road project. Police IG order dismantling of all tax collectors from federal roads. Presidency says looted funds now being hidden in graveyard and thick forest. The Sultan said Nigerians hungry because they are lazy. On the foreign scene, we told you that protest in Turkey as major opposition reject results of referendum. Hundreds of Palestinians in Israeli prison embarked on hunger strike. For more stories and to listen to us live, please log on to our website www.rockcityfmradio.com/live. Thank you for listening. I am Femi Osinuga. Good evening.